Let me talk to you for a moment, because there is a woman the world keeps misunderstanding. She's not loud. She's not chasing attention. She's not begging to be chosen. She chooses herself, and that makes her dangerous. Not dangerous because she wants to destroy, dangerous because she cannot be controlled. When a woman learns how to stand alone, think alone, pray alone, and hear God for herself, she becomes a force the world doesn't know how to manage. I'm not talking about loneliness. I'm talking about solitude. Solitude is when God pulls you away, not to break you, but to build you. Because every powerful creation of God is shaped in private before it is revealed in public. Listen to me carefully. A woman who is comfortable in solitude has already defeated fear, insecurity, and dependence. She doesn't move when people push her. She moves when God speaks, and that kind of woman, she doesn't ask for permission, she walks in alignment. There is a woman who chooses solitude, not because she is lonely, but because she understands the value of quiet. In a world full of noise, constant notifications, endless opinions, and people always telling her what to think, how to feel, or what to do, she steps back. She removes herself from the crowd, from the pressure, from the chaos, because she knows that wisdom doesn't arrive in the middle of noise. Wisdom comes in silence, in reflection, in the sacred space where she listens carefully, not to everyone else, but to the whisper of God's guidance, the inner voice of clarity, and the deep knowing of her own spirit. When she sits alone with her thoughts, she begins to recognize the difference between what is urgent and what is truly important. She sees the patterns others miss. She notices the subtle cues that reveal truth, while the rest of the world is blinded by distraction. It's in these quiet moments that her discernment is honed, sharpened like a blade in fire, polished until it becomes unbreakable. She can sense motives, intentions, and energy with a precision that can only come from reflection, from solitude, from paying attention to the universe and the God within her. Consider this. The woman in solitude is like a driver navigating a busy city without a GPS. Everyone else is honking, rushing, panicking, taking wrong turns, but she moves deliberately. She looks for the signs, she reads the streets, she feels the rhythm of the traffic, and she arrives at her destination calmly, confidently, and on her own terms. She doesn't follow the herd because she has learned that the herd does not always lead to the right place. She discerns where the traps are, where the detours hide, and where the shortcuts truly lie. And that kind of discernment comes from hours spent listening to herself, contemplating choices, and seeking wisdom in silence. Her friends and colleagues might not understand it. They may see her as quiet, reserved, or even distant, but in truth, she is observing, she is learning, she is absorbing. Every interaction becomes a lesson, every conversation a mirror. She can spot insincerity the moment it enters the room. She recognizes flattery for what it is, discernment for what it can reveal, and manipulation before it has a chance to take root. And she does this not because she is suspicious of people, but because she values the alignment of her life. She refuses to be misled, misdirected, or misused. Think about the small moments in daily life. A coworker offering help. Is it genuine or is it self-serving? A friend sharing a secret. Is it honesty or is it gossip dressed in trust? A lover making promises. Are they true or are they empty words meant to soothe impatience? The woman who embraces solitude has the power to see beyond the surface. She doesn't rush to react. She doesn't assume. She doesn't let emotion cloud judgment. She pauses, she observes, she analyzes, and in that pause, she discovers truth others can't see because they are too busy responding instead of reflecting. Even in the simplest of choices, deciding where to invest her time, energy, or resources, her discernment guides her. She knows which battles are worth fighting and which are meant to pass. She can sense opportunities that others overlook because she has trained herself to notice details, patterns, and the subtle guidance that comes from God's wisdom working quietly in her life. She can feel when a path will lead to growth, when a relationship will lead to enrichment, and when a situation will lead to unnecessary conflict or compromise. Solitude also teaches her to trust herself. In a world where people constantly offer advice, some helpful, some manipulative, she learns that the ultimate guidance comes from within, from the still, quiet voice of God and the knowledge of her own soul. She becomes fearless in making decisions because she has spent time alone learning to listen. She does not require constant validation because she has learned that clarity and truth are more powerful than popularity or approval. She discerns what aligns with her purpose and moves with conviction, while the crowd chases noise and distraction. And here's the most dangerous part for the world. She doesn't need to announce her understanding. She doesn't need to prove herself. Her power lies in the quiet observation, in the invisible awareness, in the ability to respond thoughtfully while others react impulsively. People might try to test her, challenge her, or manipulate her, but her solitude has equipped her with a radar that can detect falsehood, empty promises, and hidden agendas long before they become a problem. Every decision she makes is intentional. Every step she takes is calculated with wisdom. Every relationship she nurtures is chosen with discernment. And all of this comes from the hours she spends in silence, reflecting, listening, and understanding the deeper currents of life. While the world worships noise, activity, and constant motion, she worships stillness, thoughtfulness, and alignment. And that is what makes her not just strong, but dangerous in the most powerful sense. A force that cannot be swayed by superficial influence or distracted by chaos. The woman who values solitude sharpens her discernment like a sword in the fire of reflection. She sees, understands, and acts with clarity that others cannot imagine. She is a reminder that strength, wisdom, and power are not loud, they are quiet. They are cultivated in the unseen, in the everyday decisions, and in the courage to be alone. She is proof that solitude is not emptiness, it is preparation. It is the birthplace of discernment, and discernment is the foundation of unstoppable power. There is a woman who has learned the greatest secret the world rarely understands. She does not need anyone to validate her existence. She walks through life carrying herself with a quiet confidence because she has discovered that her worth is not measured by likes, comments, compliments, or approval. She is not emotionally dependent on someone else's attention, affection, or affirmation. That makes her dangerous, not in a threatening way, but in a liberating way, because she cannot be controlled. She cannot be swayed by the tides of popularity, the pressure of social expectation, or the opinions of those who do not truly know her heart. Every day we see people living in emotional chains, tied to the approval of others, desperate for acceptance. But not her. She doesn't need a partner to complete her, a friend to console her, or a crowd to celebrate her. She is whole in her solitude, strong in her self-awareness, and rooted in the understanding that the source of her value comes from within. She recognizes the difference between love and validation, between companionship and dependence. She has chosen to rely on her own spirit and the divine guidance of God, who whispers clarity, purpose, and strength in the quiet moments of reflection. Think about the woman who wakes up in the morning and chooses her own path. She doesn't wait for someone to tell her she is beautiful, intelligent, or capable, because she already knows it. She looks in the mirror and sees a force in the making, a purpose unfolding. When a colleague criticizes her, she pauses, evaluates, and grows, but she does not crumble. When a friend betrays her, she grieves, learns, and moves forward, but she does not break. Her emotional independence allows her to navigate life with a balance and resilience that most people only dream of. Consider the daily interactions we all face. Someone may ignore her text, decline her invitation, or refuse to recognize her efforts. The emotionally dependent person reacts with despair, anxiety, or anger. But she takes a deep breath, observes, and moves forward. She knows that her peace is not held hostage by anyone else's actions. She understands that emotional freedom is the ultimate power because it allows her to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. She can choose joy, choose patience, choose growth, and choose love without needing anyone else to supply it. Even in relationships, her emotional independence has her rare and remarkable. She does not cling, beg, or compromise her essence for someone else's comfort. She can love deeply, support fully, and share generously, but her happiness is never outsourced. She recognizes that people come into her life to enhance it, not to define it. That knowledge gives her a calm authority. It makes her magnetic because people are drawn to someone who is whole, confident, and aligned, rather than someone seeking constant reassurance. Daily life is filled with small tests of emotional strength. A coworker may take credit for her work. A friend may fail to acknowledge her effort. A stranger may dismiss her ideas. In each moment, she has a choice to react from dependence or to act from independence. She chooses the latter. She has built a fortress around her heart, not to isolate herself, but to protect her energy, her peace, and her purpose. Her discernment allows her to separate what deserves her attention from what does not. She responds from wisdom, not emotion. And that is what makes her dangerous. She cannot be manipulated by guilt, flattery, or fear. Her independence also allows her to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. She spends time reflecting, meditating, and listening to the subtle whispers of God guiding her. She does not rely on constant external reinforcement because she has cultivated a deep connection with herself and the divine. Her decisions are intentional, her actions are deliberate, and her energy is reserved for what aligns with her purpose. People who attempt to sway her or undermine her quickly realize that she is untouchable in her self-possession, even in moments of challenge, financial stress, personal setbacks, or disappointment. She does not crumble. She faces life with a steady heart because she knows her value is not dependent on circumstance. She understands that external events are temporary, but her inner strength is eternal. And that gives her unwavering confidence that others cannot comprehend. The world may try to label her as aloof, proud, or unapproachable, but in truth, she is simply free. Free from the emotional chaos that consumes most. Free to rise above petty conflict, drama, and insecurity. Free to focus on what matters, her growth, her purpose, and her alignment with the divine. Her emotional independence makes her a model for others, whether they realize it or not. People watch her navigate life calmly, gracefully, and decisively. They wonder how she remains so unshaken, while others crumble under the weight of opinion, rejection, and expectation. She doesn't boast. She doesn't preach. She doesn't need to. Her power is quiet. Her influence profound. Because when you are emotionally independent, you are unstoppable. You are untouchable. You are dangerous in the most beautiful sense because no one can redirect your path, no one can diminish your light, and no one can dictate your worth. So she walks through life standing tall, not arrogant, not boastful, but empowered. She understands the art of self-possession. She knows that happiness is cultivated, not borrowed. She knows that validation is internal, not external. And she moves through every situation with grace, clarity, and unshakable strength. This is the power of emotional independence, a force that builds empires, nurtures souls, and inspires every person who crosses her path. There is a woman who has walked through storms that would have broken most people, yet she stands unshaken. She knows something that many never learn. Pain is not meant to destroy her. Pain is meant to teach her, shape her, and elevate her. And she has discovered the secret most people miss. Solitude is where pain becomes power. When she steps away from the crowd, when she chooses silence over distraction, she begins the alchemy of transformation. What once hurt her now fuels her. What once left scars now marks her strength. Think about the everyday trials that come at us without warning. A friendship betrayed, a dream deferred, a relationship ended, a mistake that cost her dearly, a harsh word that cut deep. Most people react immediately. They lash out, drown in regret, or cling to what they lost. But she retreats into solitude. She sits with her thoughts. She allows herself to feel the hurt fully, without judgment, without shame, without running. And in that sacred space, pain stops being her enemy and becomes her teacher. She listens, she reflects, she learns in solitude. She learns the art of perspective. She sees the bigger picture that was invisible in the heat of pain. That betrayal wasn't a dead end, it was a redirect. That failure wasn't proof of weakness, it was an opportunity for growth. That loss wasn't an ending, it was preparation for something far greater. Pain, when processed in silence, reveals wisdom that no lecture, no conversation, no external advice can provide. And she emerges from those moments stronger, sharper, and more aligned with her true purpose than she ever was before. Consider the woman who was once rejected at work, passed over for promotion, or dismissed when she had great ideas. She could have become bitter, angry, or resentful, but instead she chose solitude. She reflected on what she could learn, what she could improve, and what she truly wanted. She studied her craft quietly, honed her skills, and when the right moment came, she stepped forward not as a desperate contender, but as an undeniable force. Pain had been her training ground. Solitude had been her mentor, and the world had no idea what was coming. Even in relationships, solitude transforms her. When love ends, when promises are broken, when hearts are shattered, she DOs. Not immediately seek someone to fill the void. She does not drown in sorrow or try to replace what was lost. Instead, she retreats inward. She learns about her own heart, her own desires, and her own value. She grows in ways that only quiet reflection allows. And when she re-enters the world, she does so with grace, confidence, and an unshakable presence. The pain that once defined her now empowers her, guiding her to healthier choices, wiser decisions, and a love that aligns with her soul. Daily life offers countless reminders of this principle. The mother who has endured sleepless nights and constant worry finds strength in moments alone with herself. The entrepreneur who faced bankruptcy or failure discovers creative solutions in the quiet hours of reflection. The student who faced rejection from a dream school realizes that solitude gave her the clarity to pursue an even greater path. Pain is universal, but the ability to turn it into power is rare, and it is cultivated in silence, in the private moments where no one else is watching, where only God and her spirit bear witness. Solitude allows her to transform fear into courage, anger into focus, regret into strategy. She understands that every difficult experience is a lesson wrapped in discomfort, a challenge meant to awaken her hidden potential. In the quiet of her own company, she evaluates what went wrong, identifies patterns, and sets boundaries. She learns resilience, the kind that cannot be shaken by circumstance, criticism, or chaos. She turns her experiences into fuel, her losses into leverage, and her heartbreaks into wisdom that illuminates her path forward. There is a certain kind of power that comes from surviving the storm alone, from staring at pain in the face and refusing to be defined by it. She doesn't boast about her suffering, nor does she seek sympathy. Instead, she quietly strengthens herself, knowing that the world cannot touch her core. Every tear she shed in solitude became a seed for growth. Every night she spent wrestling with doubt and fear became a training ground for her courage. Every moment she embraced discomfort became a stepping stone toward mastery over her life. The woman who turns pain into power becomes a magnet for respect and inspiration. People may try to dismiss her, belittle her, or test her, but they soon learn that she has endured storms they cannot imagine and emerged not broken, but refined. She has harnessed the secret that most never discover. Pain is not punishment, failure is not defeat, and loss is not the end. When processed in solitude, they are tools of transformation. They are the fire that strengthens her character, the weight that builds her resilience, and the storm that sharpens her vision. So, when the world sees her rise after hardship, unshaken, radiant, and unstoppable, they call it luck, talent, or timing. But she knows the truth. Her power came from the quiet hours, the moments spent alone with God and herself, where she allowed pain to teach her, refine her, and propel her forward. She is proof that solitude is not emptiness and pain is not weakness. Together, they are the alchemy of power, creating a woman who cannot be broken, manipulated, or ignored. And that is why a woman who embraces solitude, who turns her pain into power, is truly dangerous, not to the world, but to limitations, mediocrity, and fear itself. There is a woman who has learned the difference between moving under pressure and moving with purpose. The world is full of people rushing, reacting, and chasing the next thing because they are afraid of missing out, afraid of judgment, or afraid of failure. They are pushed by circumstance, influenced by opinion, and driven by urgency that has nothing to do with vision. But she moves errantly. She moves deliberately. She moves intentionally. She moves with purpose, and that makes her dangerous in the most extraordinary way because she cannot be hurried, swayed, or shaken by what the world demands. Every morning when she wakes up, she does not wake up to chaos or distraction. She wakes up to intention. She knows what she stands for. She knows where she is going. She knows what she will and will not tolerate. She has a vision for her life, and that vision is rooted in alignment with God, with herself, and with her highest potential. While the crowd scrambles, panics, and settles for what is easy, she moves like a general mapping out her battlefield, choosing her steps carefully, watching for opportunities, and knowing that patience and focus create results that panic and haste can never achieve. Think about the woman in her career. She sees opportunities that others overlook because she does not rush to grab whatever comes first. When a promotion, a project, or recognition is offered, she evaluates it through the lens of her purpose, asking, does this align with my vision? Does this grow me, challenge me, or bring me closer to what I was created to achieve? She does not chase prestige or immediate approval. She does not compromise her values because of fear or pressure. Instead, she waits. She prepares. She positions herself. And when the right moment arrives, she acts with confidence, impact, and precision. Her success is inevitable because it is fueled by purpose, not urgency. Even in her personal life, she exhibits this power. She does not enter relationships out of loneliness or desperation. She does not compromise her integrity to please someone else. She moves with purpose and love, friendship and family. She invests in connections that uplift, challenge, and inspire her. She steps away from those that drain, manipulate, or misalign with truth. And she does this with patience, knowing that God's timing and her own discernment are infinitely wiser than any fleeting pressure to fit in or settle. Daily life is full of examples of people living under pressure. The mother juggling too much, the employee trying to meet unrealistic deadlines, the student scrambling to please everyone. Most move frantically, reactively, and emotionally. But she moves differently. She prioritizes what matters most. She knows that energy is a currency, and she spends it wisely. She does not react to every demand, every crisis, every distraction. She responds from clarity, intentionality, and purpose. And in that response lies her power, the power to influence, the power to inspire, the power to lead. Consider the decisions she makes about her time. The world may demand she says yes to every opportunity, every invitation, every expectation. But she evaluates each one against her purpose. Does it serve her growth? Does it align with her vision? Does it honor her values? If the answer is no, she declines. She moves strategically, not reactively. She understands that movement without purpose is exhaustion, and action without direction is wasted energy. The woman who moves with purpose conserves her strength, sharpens her focus, and positions herself for opportunities that will multiply her impact exponentially. Even when others are panicking, she remains calm. While the world reacts to fear, she responds to insight. While others chase approval, she pursues alignment. While others compromise to meet pressure, she waits, prepares, and positions herself to move decisively at the right time. That calm, purposeful movement is magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, and blessings. It makes her a leader. Whether she seeks that title or not, people sense the difference between someone who moves under pressure and someone who moves with purpose. They recognize the quiet confidence, the deliberate steps, the clarity of direction, and they are drawn to her because she embodies mastery over circumstance. Solitude has trained her to do this. In the quiet, she has reflected, planned, and prayed. She has evaluated her desires, assessed her strengths, and aligned herself with her purpose. She knows what she is building, and she refuses to be rushed or distracted. She understands that the right timing amplifies power, while premature action can derail vision. Every step she takes is measured, intentional, and guided by clarity. And that is what makes her not only effective, but unstoppable. The woman who moves with purpose does not need to explain herself. She does not justify her patience. She does not apologize for her focus. She knows that the results of purposeful movement speak louder than words, and while others scramble under pressure, she rises steadily, gracefully, and powerfully. That is why she is dangerous. Not because she seeks conflict or domination, but because she cannot be derailed by chaos, cannot be shaken by fear, and cannot be distracted from what she was meant to achieve. Her life becomes a testament to the power of intentional movement. Every decision, every step, every choice reflects her alignment with purpose. And people watch in awe as she navigates life with calm, courage, and precision. They may try to rush her, pressure her, or distract her, but they quickly learn that she answers only to her vision, her values, and the divine guidance that moves her forward. She is proof that purpose, not pressure, is the ultimate power. There is a woman who knows her worth, and she doesn't need anyone else to confirm it. In a world obsessed with likes, applause, recognition, and validation, she has discovered a truth many never learn. Your value is not determined by what others see, say, or think. She walks through life quietly confident, fully aware of her abilities, her spirit, and her destiny. She does not perform for approval. She does not compete for attention, and she does not shrink to make others comfortable. She knows who she is, and that knowledge is a power no one can take from her. Every day she watches people measure themselves against others. They compare, they compete, they seek validation from colleagues, friends, or strangers. But she does not fall into that trap. She has looked within and found a source of worth that is unshakable. It is not tied to a title, a relationship, or the applause of an audience. It is anchored in her integrity, her purpose, and the divine design that shapes her. While the world is chasing recognition, she is focused on refinement. While others seek attention, she cultivates substance. And that difference is what makes her dangerous in the most remarkable way, because she cannot be manipulated by praise or intimidated by criticism. Think about her everyday life. She may walk into a meeting where her ideas are overlooked, her contributions dismissed, or her presence underestimated. Most would panic, self-doubt creeping in, feeling the need to prove themselves. Not her. She knows her worth. She speaks when necessary, acts when necessary, and contributes in alignment with her purpose, not in response to the judgment of the room. She does not need to be seen by everyone to know that she is capable, intelligent, and valuable. That internal acknowledgement shields her from the highs of flattery and the lows of neglect, allowing her to navigate life with unshakable confidence. Even in relationships, this truth empowers her. She does not beg for love, attention, or approval. She does not settle for someone who cannot honor her value. She enters relationships from a place of abundance, not need. She gives freely, be you. She never compromises her essence. She does not measure herself by how someone treats her, because she already knows her worth. She does not require constant reassurance because she has built a foundation within herself that no circumstance or person can undermine. And in doing so, she teaches others around her how to respect, honor, and value themselves as well. Daily life is full of reminders of this principle. A friend may forget her birthday. A coworker may fail to recognize her contributions. A stranger may dismiss her ideas. And in each instance, the world expects her to react, to feel less, to question herself, to crave acknowledgement. But she does not. She walks away with grace, knowing that her value is not diminished by someone else's oversight. Her worth is not a reflection of external recognition. It is an internal, unshakable truth. She is proof that when you know who you are, no external force can sway your confidence. Even in moments of quiet accomplishment, she does not seek applause. When she reaches a goal, achieves success, or overcomes a challenge, she celebrates privately, internally, and fully. She does not wait for others to notice or validate her triumphs. She understands that recognition is fleeting, but the awareness of her own growth and mastery lasts a lifetime. That self-sufficiency in acknowledgement allows her to move freely, take risks, and embrace challenges without fear of rejection or judgment. It makes her unstoppable because she does not rely on external approval to fuel her courage or drive. Consider the small acts that define her everyday life. She may dress elegantly not to impress anyone, but because she values herself. She may speak her mind not to gain followers, but because she honors her own voice. She may pursue her dreams not because others will applaud them, but because she believes in her purpose. Every decision, every step, every choice reflects her internal recognition of worth, and that makes her magnetic. People are drawn to her confidence, not because it is loud, but because it is authentic, grounded, and unwavering. This knowledge also protects her from toxicity. She does not tolerate manipulation, disrespect, or control because she knows her value. She can walk away from situations, relationships, or environments that seek to diminish her, and she does so without hesitation. She understands that her energy, time, and spirit are precious, and she will not invest them where they are undervalued. That strength comes from the quiet, consistent acknowledgement of her own worth, cultivated in solitude and reinforced by reflection, experience, and faith in herself. The woman who knows her worth without needing witnesses becomes a force of nature. She does not need validation because she has already received it internally. She does not seek approval because she is already whole. She moves through the world with grace, confidence, and authority. Her presence is undeniable because it is rooted in truth, not performance. And the power she carries is silent, subtle, but unmistakable. People may try to test her, belittle her, or challenge her, but they quickly learn that she is untouchable in her self-possession. So when the world questions her choices, doubts her abilities, or overlooks her presence, she does not falter. She stands firm. She moves forward. She creates, she achieves, she rises, knowing fully that her value does not need witnesses, that her worth is inherent, and that no one can diminish the light that she carries within. And that is the essence of her power. A woman who knows her worth is dangerous in the most magnificent way because she cannot be swayed, silenced, or diminished. She is unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniably aligned with her destiny. There is a woman who has learned that the greatest power is quiet, unseen, and deeply rooted in her spirit. She has discovered that when she spends time in solitude, she is not wasting her hours. She is building a kingdom within herself, a spiritual authority that no one can challenge. While the world chases titles, recognition, and loud displays of influence, she understands that true authority does not need an audience. It grows in silence, in reflection, in the moments when she is alone with God and herself. And that authority, once cultivated, is unstoppable. In daily life, we see people striving for control and influence, thinking it comes from force, charisma, or popularity. But she knows something deeper. Authority comes from alignment. It comes from clarity. It comes from the woman who has faced herself in the mirror, confronted her fears, embraced her weaknesses, and emerged stronger. Every hour she spends in solitude, thinking, praying, reflecting, and strategizing is a brick in the foundation of her spiritual leadership. She does not rush this process because she knows that power built in haste is fragile, but power built in quiet discipline is unshakable. Consider the workplace. While others react to every crisis, gossip, or competition, she observes. She listens. She evaluates. She speaks only when her words carry weight, because her authority is not demanded, it is recognized. Colleagues seek her counsel not because she shouted louder or pressed harder, but because she has earned a reputation for wisdom, insight, and unwavering judgment. Her decisions are deliberate, her actions intentional, and her influence grows quietly, steadily, and powerfully. People may try to test her, manipulate her, or challenge her, but they quickly realize that she operates from a place no one can easily reach. The authority that comes from alignment with God, with herself, and with her visio. Even in relationships, this spiritual authority is evident. She does not bend under pressure. She does not compromise her values to please someone else. She listens to her intuition, trusts her discernment, and moves with purpose. Lovers, friends, and colleagues feel her presence because it is grounded in integrity, not in neediness. She does not require applause to confirm her influence or validation to affirm her power. People gravitate toward her because her authority is magnetic, authentic, and undeniable. She is respected not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. Daily life is filled with challenges designed to test character, resilience, and authority. There are times when her opinions are questioned, her ideas dismissed, or her capabilities doubted. In those moments, most people react impulsively. They raise their voices, argue their case, or try to prove themselves. But she moves differently. She retreats into her solitude, reflects, recalibrates, and responds with measured confidence. She knows that authority is not proved through conflict. It is demonstrated through wisdom, patience, and presence. And that is why her power is unshakable. It comes from a foundation that is built, not borrowed, earned, not demanded. Even small daily decisions reflect her spiritual authority. She sets boundaries that others would find difficult to uphold. She says no to opportunities that do not serve her growth. She walks away from people who drain her energy or challenge her peace. She chooses her time, her energy, and her relationships with the precision of someone who knows the value of her influence. And in doing so, she reinforces her power every day. Solitude has taught her to move strategically, speak intentionally, and lead quietly. That is what makes her dangerous in the best possible way. She is untouchable, unshakable, and fully aligned. She has learned that the quiet hours, the moments spent alone, the reflections on her failures and triumphs are the moments where spiritual authority is forged. While others chase recognition and external validation, she builds an internal empire. She prays, meditates, and reflects, not to escape life, but to prepare for it. Every challenge she has faced in private becomes a wisdom she wields publicly. Every tear shed alone becomes a source of strength. Every moment of introspection becomes a compass for her decisions. That is how solitude transforms pain, experience, and reflection into authority that cannot be contested. Her spiritual authority also allows her to inspire others without trying. People feel her strength even before she speaks. Her presence commands respect because it radiates authenticity, power, and alignment. In meetings, gatherings, or even casual encounters, her authority is recognized without a word. People instinctively listen, follow, and respect her because they sense the depth she carries within herself. She does not need to explain her worth or her power. She simply exists. And that existence shapes the world around her. The woman who cultivates spiritual authority in solitude becomes a force of transformation. She is capable of influencing change, guiding decisions, and inspiring growth wherever she goes. And the most remarkable thing about her power is that it is unshakable. It cannot be stolen, challenged, or diminished by circumstance. It is built on a foundation of reflection, wisdom, alignment, and divine guidance. She is dangerous to mediocrity, destructive to complacency, and unstoppable in the pursuit of her purpose. So when the world sees her move, it may underestimate her at first. It may think her quiet is weakness, her reflection is hesitation, and her solitude is loneliness. But when she acts, when she steps forward, when she makes a decision or speaks a word, the world recognizes the truth. She is a woman whose authority cannot be challenged, whose power cannot be denied, and whose presence cannot be ignored. That is the woman who has learned to build spiritual authority in solitude, a woman who is truly dangerous in the most extraordinary way. There is a woman who has learned the power of patience, the kind of patience that builds empires, shapes destinies, and transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. She cannot be rushed into the wrong path, pushed into the wrong choices, or pressured into someone else's timeline. While the world moves frantically, chasing shortcuts, settling for less, and compromising dreams, she moves deliberately, intentionally, and in alignment with her highest purpose. That is what makes her dangerous. Not reckless, not impatient, but unstoppable, because she will wait for her moment, and when she steps into it, nothing can stop her. Every day, people make decisions under pressure. A friend tells them now or never. A family member demands they settle. A partner urges them to compromise. Most people panic, afraid of missing opportunities, afraid of being left behind. They leap without vision, compromise without thought, and chase what is convenient rather than what is right. But she pauses. She reflects. She listens. She waits for clarity. She knows that a rushed decision can derail a destiny, that haste can destroy potential, and that yielding to pressure can lead to regret. She understands that God's timing, or the universe's perfect timing, is more powerful than human urgency. Consider the woman navigating her career. She may be offered a promotion that looks impressive on paper but does not align with her values or long-term vision. She does not accept it out of fear of missing the moment. She evaluates. She asks the hard questions. She considers the I am implications. She looks at the opportunities it will provide, and more importantly, the compromises it will demand. And if it is not aligned, she walks away. While others chase quick advancement and short-term gain, she builds a career that honors her purpose, her values, and her ultimate calling. That kind of patience produces leaders whose impact is not temporary but lasting, whose influence is not superficial but profound. Even in relationships, this principle defines her. She does not settle for love that is convenient, comfortable, or safe. She does not rush into commitments because society says she should, because friends are pairing off, or because fear of being alone tempts her. She waits for alignment, for someone who honors her spirit, values her worth, and complements her purpose. That patience protects her heart, her energy, and her destiny. She understands that rushing into the wrong relationship is not just a temporary mistake, it can set her back from the life she was meant to live. And she refuses to let fear dictate her choices. Daily life presents countless moments of pressure. People may push her to conform, to compromise, or to act impulsively. A job opportunity may demand an immediate yes. A social expectation may threaten to dictate her timeline. Friends or family may urge her to take a shortcut, to settle for what is available rather than what is aligned. But she has trained herself to pause, reflect, and discern. She has learned that every decision is a seed for her future, and she will plant only what will grow into the life she was meant to live. She cannot be rushed into mediocrity, compromise, or failure. Her patience is her power. Even in her personal growth, she demonstrates this principle. She does not rush learning. She does not force transformation. She does not try to become someone overnight. She spends time understanding herself, developing skills, and cultivating wisdom. She knows that her journey cannot be hurried, that the process of becoming is sacred, and that every step she takes in alignment strengthens her future. Others may criticize her for taking her time, for waiting, for not rushing. But she smiles quietly, knowing that those who rush often arrive at the wrong destination, while she will arrive exactly where she is meant to be, fully prepared and fully aligned. The woman who cannot be rushed has a vision that cannot be undermined. She understands the difference between movement and progress. She knows that not every opportunity is meant for her. Not every path leads to her purpose, and not every timeline is hers to follow. She listens, she observes, and she waits for the confirmation that aligns with her destiny. And when the moment arrives, she moves decisively, powerfully, and purposefully. Her life becomes a testament to the principle that destiny cannot be hurried and timing cannot be forced. Her patience also inspires others. People watch her navigate challenges, delays, and pressure with calm confidence, and they are drawn to her wisdom. She becomes a living example that rushing does not lead to success, that compromise does lead to fulfillment, and that strength is found in waiting for alignment. Her ability to honor her own timing is magnetic. It demonstrates a mastery over life that cannot be taught in classrooms or learned from books. It is cultivated through discipline, reflection, and a refusal to be coerced into decisions that do not serve her purpose. So when the world pushes, pressures, and demands, she does not falter. She stands firm. She waits. She prepares. She aligns. And when the moment is right, she moves with the power of someone who cannot fail. not because the world guarantees success, but because she has built her life on the foundation of patience, discernment, and unwavering trust in her own purpose. That is the woman who cannot be rushed into the wrong destiny. That is the woman whose alignment, timing, and vision make her unstoppable. And that is the woman who, when she finally steps into her moment, changes everything in her path forever. There is a woman who has walked through the fire of life, embraced her solitude, and emerged so aligned, so powerful, and so self-aware that she becomes a mirror for everyone around her. She does not need to point it out, announce it, or force anyone to see themselves. Her presence alone reflects truth back to the world. People cannot ignore her. They cannot avoid the clarity she brings, the authenticity she embodies, and the standard she sets simply by being fully herself. She is dangerous in the most extraordinary way, not because she seeks to challenge, but because she exposes realities others are afraid to face. Every day, she interacts with people who are living in compromise, denial, or distraction. They are going through life on autopilot, settling for less than they deserve, and avoiding the hard work of self-reflection. And then she walks into the room, not loudly, not aggressively, but quietly, with confidence, grace, and alignment, and suddenly the reflection begins. Her composure exposes their chaos. Her calm exposes their impulsiveness. Her confidence exposes their doubt. Without saying a word, she challenges them to confront their choices, their excuses, and their own untapped potential. Think about the woman at work who has mastered her craft. She does not need to compete to be noticed. Her excellence naturally draws attention. When colleagues see her output, her discipline, and her focus, they are forced to evaluate their own standards. When she handles challenges with grace while others panic, they see their own lack of preparation. When she remains calm in moments of pressure while others react impulsively, they confront their own impatience. She becomes a mirror, showing others what is possible when alignment, self-mastery, and intention lead the way. Even in personal relationships, she reflects truths people often avoid. Her integrity exposes dishonesty. Her self-respect exposes manipulation. Her clarity exposes confusion. Those who try to mask their intentions, compromise their values, or live in denial feel the tension of their own choices reflected back. And this is not cruelty. It is the natural consequence of her alignment and power. She does not bend, excuse, or adjust to make others comfortable. She stands firm, and by doing so, she challenges the world around her to rise to the level of truth, integrity, and purpose she embodies. Daily life provides countless moments where she becomes this mirror. A friend may lie to avoid confrontation, but in her PR essence, honesty feels unavoidable. A coworker may take shortcuts, but her consistency and discipline silently demand accountability. A partner may hide their true intentions, but her clarity reveals them. A family member may act out of fear or resentment, but her peace exposes the unnecessary drama. People cannot ignore her. They cannot avoid her. She does not need to speak harsh words or deliver lectures. The mere alignment of her spirit is enough to show them the reflection of themselves they would rather not face. Her power as a mirror also inspires growth. Some may resist it at first. Some may feel uncomfortable, defensive, or threatened. But those who are willing to confront what she reflects have no choice but to grow. They see what is possible. They see what they could become if they align themselves with truth, purpose, and integrity. She does not demand change. She does not coerce improvement. She simply embodies excellence, and that embodiment challenges others to step into their own potential. In her presence, excuses fall away, and the desire to rise becomes unavoidable. Even in subtle, everyday choices, she mirrors excellence. She chooses her words carefully, speaks with intention, and listens with purpose. She invests her energy where it matters, and she protects her time and spirit fiercely. People watching her begin to measure themselves against her example, not because she says they must, but because they cannot escape the reflection. Her life becomes a standard, a benchmark, and a quiet challenge. People feel it, whether they admit it or not. And that is the power of a woman who has embraced her solitude, aligned her spirit, and become fully herself. Her mirror-like presence is also a reflection of spiritual alignment. She moves with a divine sense of timing and purpose. She does not chase trends, mimic behaviors, or follow the crowd. Her decision, actions, and relationships reflect her alignment with God, her values, and her destiny. And when people see her moving with that clarity and authenticity, they confront their own misalignment. Her light exposes shadow. Her truth exposes compromise. Her power exposes complacency, and they are forced to see themselves in her reflection. The woman who becomes a mirror does not need to manipulate, criticize, or correct. She simply lives fully and authentically. Her energy, her focus, and her alignment with purpose reflect back the realities people try to ignore. And while some may resist, most cannot avoid the impact. They may feel challenged, inspired, or even convicted, but they cannot walk away unchanged. She holds up a mirror, and in that mirror, people are confronted with their own potential, their own truth, and their own responsibility to rise. So when the world looks at her, they do not just see a woman, they see a reflection of themselves, of what they could be, and of the standards they are failing to meet. That is why she is dangerous in the most extraordinary way. She does not attack. She does not demand. She simply is. And in being fully herself, aligned, powerful, and authentic, she becomes the mirror that others cannot avoid, cannot ignore, and cannot escape. That is the power of a woman who has embraced solitude, cultivated wisdom, and walked fully in her purpose. And when she steps into her calling, the reflection she holds transforms not just her life, but the lives of everyone around her.